Using insights from financial advisors and solid academic research, we've come up with the optimal order for investing as a UK resident. We'll break down a really solid order for you to consider in terms of priorities, but please don't take this as strict advice, as we're not financial advisors. We're simply giving you some options so that you can make a decision based on your own circumstances, risk tolerances, and more. Retirement might seem like tomorrow's problem if you've got youth on your side, but in the wise words of Abe Simpson,
it'll happen to you.
And he has got a point. The average life expectancy of a UK male is 79, and it's 83 for women. That's well over a decade of being retired for the average person, and many will live much longer than this. And many will also need care homes, and these are extremely expensive. In the UK, employers must contribute at least 3% of your qualifying earnings towards your workplace pension while you put in at least 4%, with an extra 1% coming from tax relief on your contributions, so 8% overall. But for clarity, this doesn't mean that you'll actually be contributing 8% of your yearly salary into your pension. Only the qualifying earnings bracket applies for most people, so on a £30,000 wage, you'd actually contribute 6.3%, including your employer contributions, and if you were to earn £100,000 a year, it'd be all the way down around 3.5%. So nowhere near the 8% figure, let alone the recommended amount of around 12% currently. Maxing out this employer contribution match is really important, as if you don't, it's not like you get paid that money in some other way. You're just leaving it on the table, so it'd be silly not to take it, especially as some employers offer higher contributions, sometimes matching up to 10% or more. It's a bit like that famous experiment where you offer a child one cookie now or 2 cookies later, and too many people are taking that first delicious cookie so they can trade it for some designer clothes. The earlier you start, the more additional cookies you'll receive from your employer, and the longer you're giving your money the chance to benefit from compound interest, the better. Now you're getting all of the money that you're entitled to from your employer, it's time to think about protecting yourself throughout the years to make sure that you're actually able to enjoy your retirement. When you talk to people about insurance, you get two kinds of response. You get the, I don't really bother with it, never really needed it crowd, and then the ones that insure their flip-flops in case they lose them on holiday. The truth is, insurance is important. Well, maybe not flip-flop insurance, but things like life, health, and income protection definitely matter. In fact, both co-founders of Financial Interest suffered life-altering events that changed their lives forever and regretted not having insurance to cover themselves. A few years ago, Damien was attacked unprovoked by a random man on a night out in Manchester. This left him with permanent facial damage and meant that he was unable to do his job on camera for an extended period of time. And Luke discovered he had cancer at 27, which came as a big disappointment, mainly because he regretted not getting a big fat insurance payday.
Oh my god. Oh, that's horrifying.
Thankfully, both Luke and Damien made full recoveries, but they still both regret never taking out insurance to cover against unfortunate events like these. Things like income protection and critical illness cover can make a huge difference if you fall ill and are unable to work for an extended period of time. But amazingly, only 14% of UK adults had income protection and 12% had critical illness cover as of 2024. With UK statutory sick pay being a pretty measly £118.75 a week at the time of recording, having this cover could be vital. Many people think building an emergency fund is the most important thing, but an emergency fund covers you for 3 to 6 months of expenses. A serious illness could keep you out of work for far longer than that. The point is, insurance matters, and while it feels like there's insurance for everything these days, covering your health and income can not only help you sleep easier, but also bear the financial burden if the worst should ever happen. We've linked 2 impartial brokers in the description that can help you find a cover that actually works for your specific circumstances. More people in the UK insure their phone than their health, so don't be one of them. Both life insurance and your pension are vital for long-term stability, so once you've sorted them out, you can move on to the more pressing issues that you might be facing. At the time of recording, 3 in 5 UK adults are carrying some form of debt, with around a quarter of them claiming that they lose sleep over it. But even when people find themselves in a lot of financial trouble, the question still remains, should I aim to clear my debts first or start investing now? Well, the average annual percentage rate, or APR, on UK credit cards was nearly 36% as of the start of 2026. All I'll say is, good luck getting returns that high on a consistent basis from investing. So instead of seeing money used to pay off your debts as money that you could have invested, think of it as a guaranteed return on investment. The sooner you pay off your high interest debt, the less time you allow it to snowball. So say you pay off £200 now, you might have saved yourself around £70 if you were to pay it off in a year's time. 31% of UK adults who own a credit card only pay off the minimum monthly payment, which if you're scraping by and that's what you can afford, that's great. But if you do find yourself with some spare cash and are considering investing, paying off your high interest debts first will have a guaranteed impact on your financial health, with no risk of losing money either. If you're able to contribute to your pension, clear off debts, and cover yourself with insurance, now might be a good time to start thinking about those potentially rainy days in the future. I say potentially like it doesn't rain basically every day in the UK. Say your car breaks down unexpectedly, your boiler packs itself in, or in a more extreme scenario, you suddenly lose your job. You're going to need some cash in reserve to get you by, and that's why it's important to set up an emergency fund when you're in a position to do so. If you do manage to get to this stage and put some money away for those unwanted surprises, you'll actually be better off than a lot of UK adults. Recent studies have shown that more than 10% of adults have no savings at all. So even if it's a small amount every month that you can afford, it'll be worth it should you be hit with a nasty expense. You should also be keeping your emergency fund in something that's easy to access, like an easy access savings account. So to give you a bit of help, we've linked the best easy access cash ISAs in the description below. So now we're rolling. You've covered everything so far, and you're starting to put some money away each month just in case. But let's say you're able to put a little more away than you might have budgeted for. How could you put that extra money to work? Well, now's the point where you should consider using ISAs a little more seriously. ISAs are an amazing way for UK residents to save or invest their money. They are completely exempt from capital gains and UK dividends taxes, and you can put up to £20,000 a year into them at the time of recording, and this figure is plenty for the majority of people. Currently, you can put money into as many ISAs as you like each year, apart from lifetime ISAs, but we'll get to those. However, you must stay below the £20,000 limit across all of them combined. It's worth noting that the cash ISA limit is set to reduce to £12,000 in April 2027 for anyone under the age of 65, and this is to try and encourage more people to invest their money. So you still can make use of the full £20,000 limit, but £8,000 of that would need to be inside of an investing ISA account. The three main types of ISAs that you can use in the UK are stocks and shares ISAs, which allow you to invest your money tax efficiently, cash ISAs to gain interest on your cash, and lifetime ISAs which can be used to either save for your first home or for retirement. But at the time of recording, it looks like this account is going to be scrapped and replaced with a simpler ISA that focuses solely on buying your first home. You'll still be able to open a LISA up until this new account is introduced, and if you already have an existing LISA, then you'll be able to continue contributing indefinitely even after the change. But you'll want to keep an eye out on updates if you're looking to do this, as ISA rules are always subject to change, especially these days. Lifetime ISAs are also the only kind of account that you can only have one of, and you can only put up to £4,000 a year into them, but the government will provide a 25% top up, so if you do max it out, then you will be putting £5,000 a year into your lifetime ISA. Aside from paying very little tax on any gains that you might make within them, ISAs are also a great option due to their flexibility, with the ability to withdraw at basically any time you like. So if you use ISAs alongside a pension, you can have some funds that you don't pay tax on when withdrawing. And as of April 2028, pension withdrawals won't be accessible until the age of 57, and this is only set to rise. You're also taxed on your pension income as you would be with regular income, apart from the 25% that you can either take out gradually or as a lump sum. But either way, 75% of your pension will still be taxed, whereas nothing you've held in ISAs will be. Think of the money you hold in ISAs like cookies in a cookie jar. I'm definitely not hungry at the time of recording. You can dip in whenever you fancy and treat yourself, and seeing as you're a fully grown adult, you won't have your mum taking the jar away if you scoff 4 cookies in one sitting. Though, you might get a hard side eye from your partner. Because you can access the money whenever you want, the problem with ISAs is how tempting it can be to start scoffing the whole jar. If you can resist the temptation though, ISAs can be an incredible long-term wealth building tool as an investor. If you want to bolster your financial health even further though, without this ongoing temptation to dip into your savings, there are other ways that you can do this. Whilst ISAs are free from most taxes and pensions aren't, as you pay income tax on withdrawals in retirement, interestingly, pensions can actually be more tax efficient than ISAs for a lot of people. So the next thing to consider, and this might even be more worthwhile than an ISA for you, is a SIPP, or self-invested personal pension. A SIPP allows you to control your own pension investments. You still have to wait until retirement until you can withdraw it, but you will get full tax relief on any contributions that you make. If you're in full-time employment, then making full use of your employer-matched contributions usually makes more sense than a SIPP, but once you've maxed them out, a SIPP might be worth considering. And if you're self-employed, SIPPs should be a higher priority for you, as you won't benefit from matched contributions through an employer pension scheme. If you're a limited company director, you can contribute limited company funds straight into your pension and it's tax deductible. But how can a taxable account like a pension be more tax efficient than an ISA, where you don't pay tax? Well, with an ISA, you'll already have paid tax on your contributions before depositing, as it comes from post-tax income. With a SIPP, you can benefit from something called tax bracket arbitrage. If you're a 40 or 45% taxpayer today, but you only expect to be a 20% taxpayer in retirement, you're effectively getting a whole load of tax money given to you that you would have otherwise lost out on. On top of this, you can claim 25% of your pension in tax-free lump sums, until you max out the lump sum allowance, but it still helps with the whole tax efficiency thing. Another great benefit of a SIPP is being able to choose your own investments and investment platform, which typically works out to be significantly cheaper than workplace pensions, as you're not paying additional fees to have your portfolio managed for you from a company that's basically a monopoly and can charge you whatever they want. If you're using these two accounts in harmony, you've already built a great foundation for your financial future, but that doesn't mean that you can't continue to work on it in the meantime. So let's say you're able to max out your ISA and pension limits each year, something that not many people will be able to do. It's a nice problem to have, but it does leave you with one question. What now? Well, you can still invest your extra funds in stocks, bonds, commodities, and more if you wish, but you'll just have to pay tax on any returns you might make over a certain amount, and you can do this through general investing accounts. These accounts don't have a limit on contributions, and you can withdraw from them whenever you'd like. So if you're someone that already has a sizable pension and doesn't want to lock more money away until retirement age, this could be an alternative option for you. The only issue is the tax. At the time of recording, up to the first £500 of dividend income, £3,000 of capital gains, and the first £1,000 of savings interest are all tax-free depending on your income. Any additional returns you're making on top of that will be taxed. However, there are ways to soften the blow. If you're married or in a civil partnership and your partner is in a lower tax bracket, you can hold your investments in their name to reduce your household tax bill. Or, if you're smart about it, you can use ISAs for your investments that typically bring in higher returns, then keep your general investing account for those that are a bit more cautious and maybe don't return as much on average. You could also slowly move your investments over from your general investing account to your ISA each year, and you can do this by selling, transferring the cash, and then rebuying inside the tax-efficient account. This is called Bed and ISA, and I don't have anything else to say on that. It's just a weird name, and I wanted to make sure that I included it. Now, if you're in the very unique position of having an initial investment of over £100,000, you could even opt for an offshore bond instead of a general investing account. And no, this isn't some sort of dodgy tax evasion. It's a completely legitimate investment account, usually based in places like Ireland or the Isle of Man. These accounts let you defer the tax until you come to withdraw, so if you have a year where you earn less money than usual and therefore qualify for a lower tax bracket, you can take it all out then and pay less tax. Or you also have the option to draw down up to 5% of the original investment each year without triggering any immediate tax. And this makes it a flexible option if you want to plan out your taxes in the future. General investing accounts, or offshore bonds if you've got some serious dough, aren't the first option for most investors, but they do allow you to invest any excess money you might have after filling up your pensions and ISAs. I'll make sure to link as many useful articles about all of this stuff that I can find in the description and pinned comment below. One of the best investments that you can make isn't a financial investment, but more of a personal one. Without sounding too much like an alpha male guru, one of the best investments you can make is in yourself. I think it was Plato that actually said that one. Investing in yourself can help to boost your earnings and open new doors to greater success. So it is definitely something that you should consider. Getting a pay rise of £10,000 per year might be significantly better than any investment returns you're currently able to make. This doesn't have to be filling up your garage with 6 bookshelves full of self-help books next to your Lamborghini. It could just be enrolling in an educational course or even upgrading your work from home setup to help your workflow. Don't be afraid to spend a bit of money on yourself if it's going to help you in the future. It might just be the best investment that you ever make. This isn't me saying that you should just buy stuff and wait for success. You'll still have to put the work in to better yourself, but everyone can benefit from upgrading their tools once in a while. Something that a lot of people consider when they find themselves with a bit of spare cash is overpaying the mortgage so that they can ideally get it all paid off a little bit sooner and save some money on not paying the interest. But is doing that better than just investing that spare money? Well, this all comes down to personal preference at the end of the day. Some people like to overpay their mortgage for the peace of mind, whereas others like to invest their money with the hopes of achieving higher returns in the long run. But by no means does it have to be one or the other, you can just do both if you're able to. Financially, if you think the average return you can get from investing is larger than your mortgage's interest rate, it means the returns you generate from investing is a better financial decision. But this decision comes with risk, no guarantees, and there are other mental trade-offs. How would you feel with a fully paid off mortgage versus paying it off for longer but with a potentially greater net worth? Investing in property is an approach that a lot of people like to take, and seeing as property values have risen higher than inflation 85% of the time since 1985, you can see why. Although past performance is never a reliable indicator of future results, and this doesn't just apply to the stock market, but every type of investment, including property. The maths does get interesting with property, specifically on buy-to-let properties on interest-only mortgages, and this is because of something called leverage. Think of it like this. You could put £50,000 down on a £200,000 house. That house might go up 3% in value in a year, so now it's worth £206,000. But all of that increase would be yours when selling. After fees, of course, but we'll keep things simple. So you make £6,000 on a £50,000 investment, which is actually a 12% return. In the years that follow, it's not that simple, but for those that think there isn't money in property, well, this shows you that there can be. But the thing that many people don't get about property is that it isn't like a game of Monopoly, where you can just sit back and collect passive income with ease. You're gonna get midnight phone calls about broken toilets, or find yourself having to chase tenants for rent. It's far from smooth sailing. There's always the option of outsourcing the management, but this will typically come with a 10 to 15% fee that will eat into your income. If you're blessed with the skills to improve homes yourself, like carpentry, plumbing, or electrics, then you can always invest into properties to improve them and then sell. But again, you'll need to have a lot of free time on your hands to do this, and you need a significant amount of money up front to be able to buy these properties in the first place. For the people that can afford to, investing in properties with the aim of renting them out is probably the most common approach. So if you find yourself in the position to do so, it's definitely something to consider. So now you're secure financially. It's time to think about your kids, if you have any. Now, you might be thinking that kids should be the priority, so why is this section coming after everything we've already discussed? Easy answer, your financial well-being will directly affect their future, so you need to fit your own oxygen mask before you help others. If you spend all of your money giving your kids a financial leg up, there's a chance that you'll be relying on them in the future, which you probably don't want to happen, and they definitely don't want to happen, as even if they do benefit initially, they'll have to pay for your care at a later date. If you are ready to focus on their finances because your own are sorted, in the UK you have 2 excellent tax-efficient ways to do this. The first is a junior SIPP, which can offer significant long-term benefits through compound interest. Investing money for an additional 10 plus years could make a huge difference to the end results. Whatever you put into a junior SIPP will help, whether that's a big lump sum at the start or regular monthly investments of something like £50 or more, it will all add up. But as is the same with all pension products, your child won't be able to access that money until they hit retirement age, which by that time will probably be around 187. So if you'd rather something that will benefit them as soon as they turn 18, you could look at a junior ISA instead. A junior ISA works the exact same as a regular ISA, but when your child turns 18, the ownership and management of the account will transfer over to them. So if they need help buying a home or a car, this can be a tax-efficient way of putting money away so they're able to do that. But there is always the chance that they withdraw the money immediately and blow it all on a holiday to Ibiza. You can put up to £9,000 each year into junior ISAs at the time of recording, so even putting £50 away every month, as well as any money they might receive from family members, could add up to a significant amount by the time they're old enough to manage it themselves. If you're in the rare position of being able to invest much larger sums for your child, like £500,000 to £1 million, you could always look at more advanced options like family investment companies or discretionary trusts. These tools, which you would usually set up with the help of a financial advisor or accountant, give you greater control of how wealth passes down through generations, allowing you to manage inheritance more carefully, reduce your estate's inheritance tax bill, and stop your money from falling into inexperienced hands all at once. It's not so much about dodging tax, more about managing inheritance efficiently and with added caution. Kind of like a pair of armbands does when you're first learning to swim. You're making sure that your child doesn't receive a lot of money at once and blows it all instantly. Once all is said and done, you've maxed your ISAs out and your pension contributions, built up a solid emergency fund and taken care of your kid's future, then, and only then, if you're being very sensible, should you look at speculative investing, or, in other words, taking a gamble. If you're looking into high-risk, high-reward investments with added tax perks, then you could consider venture capital trusts, enterprise investment schemes, and seed enterprise investment schemes, which will all allow you to invest into promising startups with added tax relief due to the fact that half of these businesses will likely go under. Venture capital trusts will diversify your investment, spreading your money out across multiple new startups, whereas the other two will only focus on one business, which could potentially yield higher returns, but also carries more risk. You could throw cryptocurrencies into this category as well, just the parts of finance where you know there'll be more of a risk than you're really comfortable with, but hey, you're set up, it might be fine to have a bit of a dabble. Remember though, none of these options are recommendations of what you should do with your money, and there's no reason to even be speculative in the first place. We've only included it as an additional thing to consider once you've done everything else that comes before it. You can just keep being sensible if you want, there's really no need to get fancy. Even though we've put together this investing timeline, everyone's circumstances are unique, so the way that you approach things could be totally different. It isn't a one-size-fits-all type of solution. The overall aim of this video is to give you some clarity in a world of conflicting advice from wannabe millionaires driving rented supercars. Just know that even by clicking on this video, you're already moving in the right direction in terms of your financial health, and anything you can do to improve your situation will always be beneficial.